So this is the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, and I've covered it numerous times on the channel. Although I haven't covered it in a while, this was one of the best phones of 2024. And in 2025, the ZFold 7 has impressed, finally giving us a super thin foldable design and catching up to the numerous foldables on the competition, while also surpassing them in some ways, but also removing the S Pen. But in this episode, we're going to find out if it's a good idea or not to upgrade your Samsung S24 Ultra, trade it in and get yourself a Z Fold. So let's find out if that's a good option or not. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Let's begin this video by talking about a quick spec comparison. Now, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, to refresh your mind, had a 6.8-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X display. This was also 1440p, and it does have a 200 megapixel camera, which is going to be the same one found on the Galaxy Z Fold 7, or very similar. This phone also can zoom much further than the Z Fold 7 at 100 times zoom. It has 12 gigabytes of RAM, which is the same as the Z Fold 7 and the S25 Ultra. Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 on board and 5,000 milliamp hour battery, also the same capacity as the S25 Ultra. This phone can charge at about 45 watts if you have the proper charger, and it does have S Pen tucked into the body there. And you know the S Pen is definitely better than using a third-party stylus if you're into using it. So this one comes packed with the specs. It also has a very beautiful and iconic look with this Note-like look, or S22 Ultra-like look. This definitely has that iconic Samsung pointier corners look. So this is just pure Samsung through and through, and there's just no real sacrifices to that phone. Some people argued the battery life wasn't great, but the specification sheet does show a pretty nice setup. Now for the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra coming over to the Z Fold 7, you will be presented with a much nicer front cover display. Now that cover display is around 6.5 inches. Definitely a big upgraded over the previous versions, which were much smaller. You're also going to get yourself an 8-inch inner display on here, although with the thinner design, it is a little bit harder to open, especially when it's new. As you start folding it, it gets a little easier, but it gets much easier if you put a case on it to give you some grip. Now, this phone also does present you with a 200 megapixel main sensor, although the zooming quality is nowhere near as good as the S24 Ultra or S25 Ultra. I've already can confirm that. While it's not about just it goes 30x, the actual zooming cameras are not as good quality. I found they're just not as sharp. Definitely don't like that about this one, but it does have at least the main sensor being 200, so it's definitely more of a flagship experience, and one that you can definitely get on with probably pretty fine for most usages. Now you can get this in 12 gigs of RAM. You can also go 16 gigs of RAM if you go to the higher storage tiers. This is Snapdragon 8 Elite and a 4400 milliamp hour battery, so they didn't actually improve the battery size on this phone. They both do have that same triple camera look on the rear, but the Z Fold 7 just looks about as thin as a S24 Ultra, maybe slightly thicker at the camera bumps for sure. And this phone does present itself quite a bit of wobble on the table, but other than that, you know, it's been a pretty striking phone to use. I've definitely enjoyed it. It's definitely my favorite fold yet in terms of the hardware, but I wish it had the S Pen. That is just really what I've been missing here overall. Now, when we talk about if you should upgrade in terms of the design, well, you are looking at a much bulkier and uncomfortable phone to hold here. So when the Z Fold is closed, I do prefer it to the S24 Ultra. It is a much easier phone to hold. The issue I have with the Z Fold 7 though is that you have to kind of use it the way it comes, or with its slim case that Samsung does provide, as it doesn't really add much bulk to the phone at all. Or else, if you start adding some of those third-party cases, the Z Fold 7 does become thick again. So I kind of prefer it without anything on it, or this very slim case that I got with pre-order. I paid for it though; it didn't come free. But definitely, I like this design more for one-handed use out here. However, when I open up the Z Fold 7, I do feel like it's a little bit more fragile. It's pretty thin, and while it's not that slippery, if I drop this, I'm a little more concerned about that inner display than this one out here, just because it's just a much higher priced phone. This one just feels a little bit more durable, a bit more like a tank, and this one is like a delicate inner display, like with the plastic OLED, but The overall body when closed also feels pretty tank-like. So in terms of design, it really just comes down to, do you want the smaller book format here, foldable, thinner, lighter, kind of feeling foldable, or do you want to stick with your tried and true big beastly flagship phone with S Pen support? That's going to be your Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. The sides of this phone, not quite as flat and easy to hold as S25 Ultra, but they're still not incredibly hard either. Now, when it comes to displays themselves, I love that the S24 Ultra can do things like landscape mode to give you that like little tablet-like feel here. It has a really sharp panel, and it's also customizable. If you go in here to display and you scroll down to vivid, you could do vivid natural, you could do QHD plus. Some people talk about how it has like this grain effect when it's really low. I did see that in extremely dim situations, but I don't see it that much because I'm not like using my phone at 1 a.m., you know, with extremely dim situations too much. So it's pretty much a non-issue to me. QHD plus here, full HD plus, you can change that stuff. But using the S Pen on here has always been a treat as well, just because, you know, it's got great pressure sensitivity, and it's just kind of useful for jotting down notes, I feel like. And also, if you're an artist, you might really like this. It kind of feels like a step back that Samsung didn't include this on the largest ever ZFold. So yes, this is actually a true benefit. This is not only better that it has it, this also is better than the S25 Ultra and the S Pen, because this one actually has the Bluetooth functionality that you can use with this phone. So this one's just a little bit more loaded with S Pen features than even the latest S Ultra. So I miss it. I really do. And it's something that you really have to weigh how important and valuable it is to you, because if you do give that up, you will miss it. I've been using these third-party styluses, and I got to tell you, they come nowhere near the S Pen in terms of, you know, functionality and fun to use factor. Also, because yes, you can use these on the front cover display, that's cool and all, but you can use this capacitive stylus on any capacitive screen, phone, tablet, whatever. It's not a big deal. To me, what would have been a bigger deal is a thinner S Pen. Even if it doesn't go in the phone, it never went into the Z Folds, that somehow they just made it thinner. I've been seeing rumors that Samsung might bring it back in the form of a technology kind of like what Apple uses for the Apple Pencil, so they can get that thinner design but still give you S Pen support. I cannot wait for that. That will be great. But definitely something you miss. But when it comes to the display, you might be able to easily forgive that once you start seeing the massive and expansive 8-inch panel on the Z Fold 7. It really does make the S24 Ultra look kind of small in comparison here. But when you do start watching video, you are going to find that it's not really that much different, as it doesn't fill the whole screen. However, reading articles, you can get more of a tablet-like view here in terms of the look when you are reading articles and that sort. So this definitely looks better. So for example, if I go over here and I scroll down to Google News, you can see there's going to be more scrolling to see the same content. I see one article there. Over here, when I was up here, I can see 4 almost right there. So in that form, it is going to be much better. Also, when you do multitasking, you already know that the Z Fold is going to be the king of this area. So if you find yourself being a productivity workhorse on your device, I do think the Z Fold is a step up. But I do feel like I have to use this third-party capacitive stylus to make it even more fun, because sometimes I do want to use that for certain tasks. So that's something about the display's differences, is that you're going to be able to do much better multitasking here, and it's even better now than previous Z Folds just because it has more space and real estate. So I do kind of like that. I'm not gonna kid on that one. One thing I don't like is that the punch hole has not only made its return here to the Samsung Z series, it's actually gonna come over here and be bigger than the one on the Galaxy S24 Ultra. So that's a smaller punch hole. This is a big punch hole by comparison to that right there. So not a fan of that. And yes, this actually does get in the way. A couple times you can see it's already in the way up there, going over the top charts. If I scroll over to other devices, you'll see that it's also blocking the text there. And it does that on multiple occasions for multiple different applications. So it can get in the way certain times. Definitely not a fan of that change either, but it still doesn't take away from how big the panel is. So that's really fun. And the outer display is also much more usable, but I don't know, I still find myself on the inside of this phone just way more because it's just more enjoyable to use. This feels like what I use just when I'm walking around and stuff like that. Nothing too serious, just some light tasking on the front. So should you upgrade when it comes to performance and speed? I'd say no. I don't really feel like you're gonna see anything drastic. The S24 Ultra performs like brand new even today. So no, I would not upgrade for performance and speed. Although if you do want the 8 Elite, this one is still not the fastest version of it here on this Galaxy phone. It doesn't score as high as the S25 Ultra. So if performance is all out your thing, S25 Ultra I would pick. This is still really, really great, but it just doesn't have better thermal management in my experience as the S25 Ultra. So if performance is your main thing, then look at the S25U. That's going to be the one. This one will be really good too, but it just scores a little bit lower. Probably cannot outperform. When it comes to the cameras, I would actually prefer the S24 Ultra. It to me has sharper looking photos. It zooms in further, and when it is zoomed in, let's back that up a little bit, it just looks better to me. Like the zoom camera is just way better on the S24 Ultra, and that to me is, it's game over. Like that's important because I want all the lenses to be sharp, and on this S24 Ultra all of them are. Also, it does have pro video, and you'll get some of those features in future updates that the Galaxy S25 Ultra had. So this phone really is all that in the kitchen sink when it comes to camera. Now the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is definitely the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is definitely beating the older Z Folds by a substantial margin, mostly due to its 200 megapixel camera, although most of you are probably going to stay up there in the 12 megapixel. And these photos do look sharp provided good lighting, and if you're in that 1 to 3x range. Once we start getting to 10, 20, 30, I did find some of the actual camera quality not to really shine like that of an Ultra phone. So let me go ahead and show you a zoom shot I took yesterday to make my point proven here, so you know what I'm saying. So I seen an eagle land on this vehicle right here, and you can see when I zoom in, what is, like, look at this. The Ultra would have got this thing tack sharp. I can't even really see its feathers too well. I mean, and I wasn't that far. I was probably a good, you know, this is about a 30 times zoom right here. I was a good maybe 200 feet from this. So, I mean, what is this? You see this? Like, no, this zoom needs to improve, period. So that to me is why I'm going to give the win to the S24 Ultra. But for regular photos, people aren't zooming. Again, those are going to look just fine. No problem whatsoever. Also, video is going to look pretty good. You can do 4K 60, you can do 8K. Again, though, most of the best benefits of this phone are similar to the S25 Edge. They're on that main 200 megapixel sensor. The other cameras can still use some work for the Z Fold 7. So to me, I think it would be a slight downgrade for camera performance if you came from S24 Ultra, especially if you used it like very heavily in the zooming and stuff like that. So should you upgrade from the S24 Ultra to a Z Fold 7 when it comes to the area of battery life? This is also going to be a no for me. This has a bigger battery and it lasts longer on that battery. Some have argued this phone doesn't have good battery life. I disagree. I never really had an issue getting through a full day with this phone. If I start using the Z Fold 7 heavy on the 8-inch on the inner display, I don't have trouble getting through the day, but I'm definitely much lower at the end of the day than an Ultra phone. So this one can go a day and then some. This one, if you're using heavy on the inner display specifically, you are going to be draining this and maybe charging it a little bit more than the S25 Ultra. This can also charge pretty quick with the 45 watt charger from Samsung, but definitely they needed to improve the battery on Z Fold and they weren't able to do so this year. So 4400 staying the same as Z Fold 6. It's the same story as it was before. The Ultra phone is still going to have the Ultra battery. So you're getting better battery life here. Although I think Samsung in general needs to go to the silicon carbon technology that we find on some of the Chinese foldables and smartphones out there. So from a software perspective, the S24 Ultra is just such a great phone because it has all the features in the kitchen sink, including a lot of theming options, really polished One UI, and just a lot of usage here that is just fun. So if you use like iPhone or whatever like that, you probably would enjoy trying this phone out because it does have a lot to offer that you might have never experienced before, including using the Galaxy Store Good Lock features and having Play Store and it keeps you busy if you enjoy that. If you want to have some fun, play around and learn some stuff, you're going to have a lot of fun with the S24 Ultra. If you've been using Samsung a while, you already know this. It's just going to be your ecosystem you're used to. But when you come over here to the Z Fold 7, you take most of what the S24 Ultra has offered, except for the S Pen thing, and you just blow it up here. And then you get like this tablet-like experience on the inner display, and it feels kind of like you have a little mini Galaxy tablet and a phone on the front. So it's even more fun. Honestly, the Z Fold 7 is just one fun phone to use. Even more fun than the S24 Ultra. So yeah, if a fun factor and you enjoy One UI a lot, I think you'll be able to take better advantage of its multitasking abilities and its feature set, and just probably enjoy that versatility that Samsung offers with the versatility of the hardware that the Z Fold 7 offers. So you seen how I almost missed that. I missed that unopened or that unfolding right there. I missed it, totally missed it. Just a little bit harder to open, but this one's going to be the phone I would say for software if you want to have more fun. But if you do want to have probably quicker updates, I feel like the Ultra phones sometimes get those updates faster than the folding devices, but it's been improving on both. Another area I would say that the Samsung Fold is going to be much better is gaming. It blows up some of these apps. Sometimes they're not properly optimized, but a lot of them are. And it's just more fun because it got lighter here. It's fast with the 8 Elite, and its GPU is fast, so it does perform very well. And you have a lot of expansive real estate here to play games. I mean, why would you want to play games on a smaller phone here versus that? At the other end of the spectrum, this is very easy to hold just because of its shape when gaming. So if you play those games where you have buttons on both sides, or you want to attach like an accessory, this might be a little bit more comfortable to do so on the Ultra. But the Z Fold for the expansive display really does feel like a mini tablet, so I'm going to give that one the win in the area of gaming. And in media though, it's not really a substantial win because again, there's black bars that are presented in video and they kind of cut off some of the display, so you have to pinch to zoom and then you kind of like crop in, so it's not that much better of a media experience than the S25 Ultra. But for gaming, multitasking, and web browsing, the Z Fold wins. So if we analyze the pricing, the S24 Ultra can definitely be found at a much cheaper price now. It's definitely significantly older. It could be substantially cheaper. But for the trade-in values they're offering on the S24 Ultra, you could get this substantially cheaper than its retail price. Is it worth it though? I think if you're like looking for something that can provide you with better multitasking and versatility, I do think it's worth it. If you're looking for something that can provide you with better battery life, durability, and zooming camera or better cameras, don't do it. You are going to be disappointed. And if S Pen is something of a thing that you really used a lot on your S24 Ultra, or it's something that really sold you on this phone, don't do it. So this is a pretty tough one here. But my final verdict and recommendation comes down to those points that I mentioned. You have to see it, you got to see which ones you're leaning more towards, or it could be so this one's a toss up. It could be a mistake or it could be a good upgrade. It really depends on your priorities as the buyer. But if it was up to me, I would upgrade personally, just because I think the Z Fold 7 does let you take better advantage of productivity, which is one thing I really like about Samsung phones. They are just, to me, some of the best workhorse productivity devices out there due to their multitasking systems that they do have on board and how fast they are. They're just blazing fast now with the animations, the chipsets. Yeah, so that's kind of how I took it. But this is probably more, this is definitely better for camera on the left. Let me know your thoughts down below. Which one you would prefer? Are you going to do this upgrade? Do you plan on it? Or you maybe did it and return to Z Fold because you didn't want to get rid of your S24 Ultra after all? Let me know your experiences, your stories down below. Let's talk about it. I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.